The paradox of modern education and moral decline. In recent times, a troubling paradox has emerged in our society. Many of those who are highly educated and academically accomplished, the very individuals we would expect to guide humanity toward progress, justice, and peace, are increasingly becoming the sources of great harm. We see learned men and women deeply involved in corruption, manipulation, political deceit, moral decay, and even the instigation of wars that devastate nations and destabilize the world. Their arrogance, hunger for power, and intellectual pride have turned knowledge, once a noble tool for service, into a weapon for control and destruction. This phenomenon marks a sharp contrast from previous centuries. In earlier generations, the learned were known for wisdom, humility, and a deep sense of responsibility toward their communities. Scholars, philosophers, theologians, and scientists used their knowledge to uplift societies, advance human understanding, and pursue truth for the common good. Education was viewed not merely as a means to personal success, but as a sacred trust, a calling to enlighten others and to promote moral and spiritual maturity. Today, however, education in many places has lost its moral compass. Knowledge is pursued without character, and intelligence is exalted without integrity. We have produced intellectual giants, but moral infants, people whose minds are developed but whose hearts remain undeveloped. As a result, the world faces an age where brilliance coexists with brutality, where progress in technology is matched by regression in morality, and where human advancement is shadowed by human arrogance. This crisis calls for a return to true education, one that cultivates not only the intellect but also the conscience. Knowledge must once again be guided by wisdom, and learning must be anchored in humility, compassion, and the fear of God. For it is not education alone that makes a person noble, but the spirit with which that education is used. The fall of wisdom in the age of knowledge, a comparative reflection on education, character, and society. In every generation, education has been the cornerstone of progress and civilization. Yet, in our modern era, an alarming paradox has emerged. The world is full of educated people, but not necessarily wise people. Academic excellence has risen, but moral integrity has fallen. Intellectual sophistication has expanded, but spiritual maturity has diminished. Whereas the learned people of the past were known for humility, service, and deep moral conviction, many of today's educated elites have become instruments of division, corruption, arrogance, and even destruction. This paper explores the reasons behind this shift, examining how education, when divorced from morality and spirituality, leads to the decay of societies rather than their transformation. 1. The historical context, when education was moral and sacred. 1.1. Education as a moral calling. In ancient civilizations, learning was never separated from virtue. The goal of education was not only to sharpen the mind, but also to shape the soul. In ancient Greece, philosophy meant love of wisdom, and philosophers like Socrates and Plato saw knowledge as inseparable from moral virtue. In biblical traditions, learning was rooted in the fear of the Lord, which was the beginning of wisdom, Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10. In African traditional societies, elders transmitted wisdom through storytelling, discipline, and moral instruction. Education was a communal duty aimed at forming responsible, honest, and respectful individuals. 1.2. The spiritual foundation of early scholars. Early scholars saw learning as a spiritual stewardship. For example, Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics, spent more time studying scripture than science, believing his discoveries revealed God's order in creation. Augustine of Hippo, a philosopher and theologian, viewed education as a journey of the soul toward truth and righteousness. In traditional African and Eastern cultures, wisdom was seen as a divine gift, and teachers were regarded as moral guides. Education was once about becoming good. Today, it is often about becoming great. 2. The modern shift, when knowledge lost its soul. 2.1. The rise of secularism in education. The Enlightenment and modern scientific revolutions brought great progress, but they also began to separate reason from faith. In many modern systems, God, morality, and conscience were slowly removed from the classroom. As a result, knowledge became self-referential, pursued for control, profit, and prestige rather than for truth and service. 2.2. The worship of intelligence. Today's culture idolizes intellectual achievement. Degrees, titles, and awards are seen as the ultimate measures of success. Yet intelligence without wisdom becomes dangerous. Many of the world's crises, political instability, corruption, manipulation of media, and technological misuse, are led not by the uneducated, but by the highly educated. Modern education has produced clever minds but corrupted morals. It has filled the world with knowledge but emptied it of wisdom. 3. The lost connection between knowledge and character. 3.1. Knowledge without conscience. True wisdom involves both the mind and the heart, but in today's systems, moral education is often dismissed as outdated or subjective. The result? Leaders who know how to win elections but not how to govern honestly, scientists who discover powerful technologies but use them without ethical restraint, businesspeople who master profit but ignore fairness. 3.2. The fragmentation of the human soul. The older generation of scholars sought wholeness, the harmony of intellect, emotion, and spirit. Today's learners are often fragmented, overloaded with information but disconnected from their own humanity. The rise of the internet and artificial intelligence has created data-driven minds, but emotionally empty hearts. 3.3. The example of Jesus and biblical education. Jesus Christ was not formally educated by the world's standards, yet his words carried life-transforming wisdom. He taught with compassion, humility, and divine authority, demonstrating that true education comes from knowing God and living truthfully. The apostles, though unlearned men, Acts chapter 4 verse 13, turned the world upside down because their wisdom was spiritual, not intellectual. 4. Cultural and philosophical causes of the modern crisis. 4.1. Materialism and the pursuit of success. The modern world measures achievement by material gain. Education is seen as a ladder to wealth, not as a tool for service. This has led to selfish ambition, competition, and corruption, the very opposite of the humility that once defined great thinkers. Education is commercialized, the more character is compromised. 4.2. The death of community and mentorship. In traditional societies, elders and teachers shaped both mind and morality. But in today's globalized, digital world, mentorship has been replaced by algorithms and screens. Many young people grow intellectually without ever being guided morally. Thus, they become independent in thought but immature in spirit. 4.3. The rise of moral relativism. Modern philosophy teaches that truth is subjective. As a result, there are no longer universal standards of right and wrong. This relativism has infected politics, education, and even religion, making corruption and arrogance appear normal. The old generation lived by conviction, the new lives by convenience. 5. The spiritual dimension, when humanity forgets God. 5.1. The fear of God as the root of wisdom. Scripture repeatedly teaches that true wisdom begins with reverence for God. When societies reject this principle, even the most brilliant minds fall into foolishness. Romans chapter 1 verse 22 says, "Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools." 5.2. Intellectual pride and the fall of nations. History shows that many empires fell not because of ignorance, but because of arrogance. Ancient Babylon fell because of pride, Daniel 5. Rome decayed morally before it collapsed politically. Modern societies are now facing similar decay, proud of their science but bankrupt in their soul. 5.3. The need for spiritual education. If education is to restore moral direction, it must be reconnected to spiritual formation, teaching not only how to think, but also how to love, serve, and live justly before God and others. 6. The role of technology and superficial knowledge. 6.1. The information explosion. We live in the age of instant information, yet truth is harder to find. Students can access global knowledge in seconds, but often lack the discipline to reflect or question deeply. The internet rewards speed, not depth, visibility, not virtue. 6.2. Artificial intelligence and the future of human wisdom. AI can process data but cannot produce discernment. Machines may outthink humans in speed, but not in conscience. The danger is that humanity will rely on technology to do its thinking, and lose the moral compass that defines its humanity. We have created machines that can think, but humans who no longer do so wisely. 7. The social and political consequences. 7.1. Corruption and leadership failure. Most corruption scandals, political manipulations, and wars today are led by educated elites, people with degrees, strategic knowledge, and influence. This shows that education without ethics is power without restraint. 7.2. The loss of public trust. When educated people become dishonest, societies lose faith in institutions, schools, governments, and even churches. The moral authority of the educated class collapses, leading to chaos and cynicism among citizens. 7.3. The rise of social division. Without moral education, knowledge becomes a tool for dominance. Political and economic elites use their education to exploit the less educated, deepening inequality and resentment. 8. Rediscovering true education. 8.1. Integrating morality with knowledge. Schools and universities must return to teaching ethics, compassion, and service. Education should form the whole person, intellect, heart, and spirit. 8.2. Restoring the role of faith. Faith-based education, when practiced with sincerity, nurtures humility, accountability, and service. When students are taught to honor God, they are more likely to honor humanity. 8.3. Building character before career. Societies must prioritize character formation over mere career preparation. We do not need more professionals. We need more principled people. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Aristotle. Conclusion. The call for a new generation of wise learners. The crisis of modern education is not the failure of intellect, but the absence of moral and spiritual guidance. The world has enough scholars, experts, and professionals, but it is starving for people of wisdom, humility, and integrity. If we are to heal the world, we must rebuild education upon its true foundation, truth, virtue, and the fear of God. Only then can knowledge once again serve humanity, not destroy it. Wisdom is better than weapons of war. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 18.